What's up, my dudes? MX bikes on a console? Are you crazy, dude? Are you crazy, dude? So, I've been seeing a lot of this here recently in a bunch of my comment section on MX bikes videos, just kind of seeing a bunch of this like, dude, wouldn't it be so sick to be able to play MX bikes on a PS5 or, you know, the next gen consoles and all that stuff. So I thought it was worthy to come in here and make a video on this. Definitely let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this, because, I mean, let's just keep it real. No matter how much this would be a cool thing and a cool, you know, that would be so cool to be able to play MX bikes, you know, on a TV, on a console, sitting down, like that would be a really fun experience. But is it ever actually really gonna happen? I feel like it's possible, but not very likely. You know what I mean? But when it comes to like MX Simulator, I feel like that game will never be on a it's impossible. It will just simply never be on a console. Whereas like MX Bikes, I'm more in that range of like, it's still pretty impossible, but like there's still a chance there. So you're telling me there's a chance? You know, I still feel like there's some kind of a chance there just with what Piboso has done with pushing the game, you know, getting it on Steam. It's got all this kind of VR capabilities and things like that, you know. It kind of opens up that idea, you could say, of the potential of it being on a console one day down the road. I don't think this is going to happen anytime soon or anything like that, but it is possible. Whereas like MX Simulator, with the development around that game and what's going on with that game, I feel like it literally will never be on a console, ever. No matter what the fuck, you know what I mean? It's just never going to happen for that game. But we obviously need to talk about this glaring issue when you talk about MX bikes on a console. How the hell are you going to get any of the custom content on it? You know, that's like talking about any of these PC-based, you know, games, motocross games that are completely driven off of their modded content, whether that's modded gear, custom tracks, you know, custom bikes, all that kind of stuff. Again, it's like, that's a massive roadblock. How are you going to get that on a console? There would have to be some sort of way where you could download it through like a Steam workshop, but on a console. That's the only way I could see it really happening in any kind of way. But, you know, PC kind of has this ability where you can have all this modded content, even though it can be like basically copyrighted, you know, content and copyrighted decals and, you know, Monster Energy logos on tough blocks and everything, but it doesn't really matter on PC. Whereas I feel like if you had that game on like an Xbox console or a PS, you know, 5 console or whatever, you're gonna have to be a lot more careful with the copyright. At least I would think so. It wouldn't be as easy to have like super copyrighted modded content on a console, but I could be wrong about that. But it seems like they would run into some legality issues there, you know what I mean, or some kind of way they would run into some problems there. But you know, it's not like it's not like I'm sitting here thinking Piboso couldn't get MX bikes to run on a console. That's like, I definitely think they could do that. That's pretty much a no-brainer. I mean, I feel like that's not really that difficult for Piboso to do that. But again, it's like MX bikes without any of the custom modded content. How much of a game really is that? It's the same way with MX Simulator. If you stripped away all that modded content, how much of a game really is it? Basically, the most bare bones basic five stock tracks that are the most basic, bare, you know, and then you're going to be in there riding with the default looking bike in the game because there's no other bikes in the game. It's the same way with MX bikes, you know, you'd have to ride on that basic default KTM looking bike and there would be no other bikes, no other gear. It would be super basic, beginner, bare bones looking gear, and all you'd be able to ride on is those, you know, 5 or 10 stock tracks of MX bikes. You see what I'm saying? It's difficult in the sense of the modded content more than it is just getting the game to work on a console. You know what I mean? And I think people really need to understand that. But no matter, I think it would be really cool. But again, how do you get that modded content on there? I don't know. Like I say, let me know down in the comments. I want to hear you guys' opinions on this. But I know there's a massive market for dudes that still heavily play on console, console-based motocross games, and they just really don't have that next level kind of game. Like, and especially nowadays, Reflex is more of an Xbox 360 game, and even if you're trying to play that on console, you don't have any of the custom tracks, you don't have any of the custom gear, modded content, first-person camera mod, which is basically necessity when you're playing Reflex in first person. You don't get access to any of that, and that's about all you got other than like the milestone games or MX vs ATV All Out. I mean, shit's pretty dry for the console boys. You guys need to come over here to the good side, guys. You need to come over to PC, dude. It's where it's at when it comes to motocross games in this current day and age. It definitely is. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like I say, MX Bikes, MX Simulator, and Reflex on PC, I mean, that is the most content you're ever going to get in any other dirt bike game times 1,000. You know what I mean? Times 420,000. Like, it ain't even in the same comparison. So I think there's a lot of guys just straight up missing out on that. And having a track editor in like an official Supercross game, that ain't even the same thing, dude. A lot of you guys, I think you think like, oh, well, there's a track editor in the Supercross game, so it gives us custom tracks on a console, but really, it really ain't. It really ain't like custom tracks on MX Bikes or MX Sim or Reflex or whatever. And hopefully one day they can figure that out, where there is some sort of Steam Workshop integration on a console where you can download custom tracks from a Steam Workshop on a console and it'll still work. Maybe they'll figure that out at some point in time, some magical way to make that work. I have no idea, but maybe there's a possibility for that. But the one thing I do want to say here is, the thing you got to remember with MX Bikes, with it still being in development, you really don't want Piboso to start coming over here and putting in all their effort and resources into making this like console port of MX Bikes, and then that would take away from the real development of the game on PC. So that's kind of a deal breaker there as well. You would want Piboso to be putting all their attention into making the terrain deformation better, the physics better, everything like that on MX Bikes on the PC version, more than you would want them to be coming over here and just, pouring all their time into making some console port for the game. No matter how many more copies of the game they would sell from that, it's like, are you trying to make a better game, or are you just trying to make a game on 10 million different consoles? It's like, there's kind of there's a give and a take there, so, but yeah, I mean, it's an interesting idea. I think of all of these, like, modded content motocross game, I think MX Bikes has the best chance of it being on a console, but at the end of the day, very unlikely, very, very unlikely. There's so many huge roadblocks and hurdles that they would have to figure out with it to get it to even really be worth putting on a console, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, like MX Simulator and MX Bikes, man, these are not, and even Reflex on PC, these are not hard on your PC, bro. Like, you can pretty much play these games on your mom's Dell PC, dude. So all that money that you're spending on a PS5 or a new console or whatever, you could get a plenty decent computer to be able to run all of these games. And you still have all the milestone games on PC. That's the thing. It don't even make sense anymore to really play motocross games on a console, like, exclusively. That just doesn't even make sense. Even though there's a lot of people still in that category, they're still in that boat, but like you do realize that, you know, if you have a PC, you can play MX Bikes, MX Simulator, Reflex, all the, you know, thousands and thousands of custom content for all those games. You've got MX vs. ATV Unleashed, MX vs. ATV Supercross Encore, All Out. You got all the milestone games. You've got, I mean, pretty much everything you could want motocross gaming-wise, minus MX vs. ATV Alive and Untamed. But again, those games are more of Xbox 360 games anyways, so, you know, but that's pretty much the only two games that you're not going to be able to get on a PC unless you have some sort of emulator type shit going on. But other than that, though, like, you can still play Supercross 4 on PC, and it's going to run better. It's going to look better, especially if you have a decent PC. You can make it look even better than it's going to look on a PS5 or whatever. You know, you can get in there on MX Bikes, and just so much more potential time and replayable and investment into the PC versions of these motocross games. It's time for people to come to that realization that, like, this console age of gaming is starting to disappear into the abyss, in a sense. There's just so many more advantages with PC gaming now that you got things like Steam, you know, Steam Workshop, you know, so many more graphical options on PC. And heck, you can still, you know, plug your computer up to a TV if you wanted to. You know what I mean? You could still do that at the end of the day and have a sit down on the couch and play a game on a TV experience. But another thing with PC, you know, you can really get into 2K gaming, 144 refresh rate, 4K gaming. It's got so many more capabilities. And at the end of the day, I mean, I get the advantages to console. It's easy, it's plug and play, it's get on there. You don't have to fuck with any settings. Everything just works. But it's starting to get to that point where there's such a massive restriction to the types of games and what you can do on console that it's kind of a no-brainer. If you're wanting to actually get any kind of serious into motocross gaming at all, it's a no-brainer to invest in a PC at this point. So yeah, but either way, I mean, you know, MX Bikes, you know, has a bunch of VR capability, virtual reality stuff to it, which would obviously play into the hands of like PlayStation VR and stuff like that. I mean, I guess you could say the potential is there, but, you know, with these really small developers that are making games like MX Bikes and MX Simulator, you know, you can't help but think, how the hell are they going to have the resources and the you know, the development teams and stuff like that to really properly port that over to a console? It just seems very, very unlikely. It seems almost impossible. I mean, it literally is impossible for MX Simulator. I can promise you right now, JLV will never put that game on a console, ever. It's just never going to happen. But MX Bikes, it's like there's a slight little chance there that it could happen in the next 5 to 10 years, maybe. But still, it's very unlikely, even for MX Bikes. But I think another thing to this is, you know, when they come out with MX vs. ATV Legends and some of these, you know, newer MX vs. ATV games, I can guarantee you at some point they're going to put in another PC-based track editor like you had in Reflex, and you're just simply not going to be able to experience that on a console. There's just so many other things that it doesn't translate over to console when it comes to that custom track, custom gear, bike, you know, editor world of the games. It just doesn't carry over. It'd be so hard to get that to work on a console. So either way, just want to come here and make a cool little video on this. Thought it was worthy of talking about, because I see a lot of you guys commenting that. But I'm telling you right now, don't hold your breath on a like a PC, I mean like a console version of one of these super modded PC-based motocross games, do not hold your breath on that, dog, because you're going to be suffocated. You're going to, oh, 5 years down the road, there's still none of these games on console. 10 years down the road, there's still none of these games on console. It literally could be another 15, 20 years before that's even like an actual reality, But nonetheless, man, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.